It was during this time that I set out to conquer the floating isles, and we all know how that ended. Blackened pirates. There was another reason to all my warring, aside from protecting my people and unifying the world. The Shade. I had seen their butchery firsthand, vile and merciless. It was foolish to simply wait around for those monsters to grow in strength and cast night on the land when we could strike at them preemptively. But to eradicate the Shade once and for all, I would need the collective strength of every nation on Telos. That would never happen through diplomacy. Can you imagine the Lorien Empire ever being willing to work with the Leon Ta? So yes, some might say I conquered for power and revenge, but those goals were merely a means to an end, that of eradicating the Shade. But the ends never justify the means. Through all this time, I had been waging constant war. Right after conquering Daemony, now the Daemon Republic, I declared war on their neighbors in Delphi, which I justified through the ancestrally contested lands they fought over with Daemony for thousands of years. As a side note, I found out the Delavian dukes, had sex with goats. Seriously, goats! The lot of them. They're goat buggers. They invited me to join in. Sick bastards. Anyway, Frey had a treaty with Hamara to back each other if one of us went to war with Delavi. Frey thought my declaration of war was unjust, however, and pulled out of their treaty. I made sure to plan something special for those oath-breakers, especially their young head matriarch, Quelandra. You've probably heard about my affair with her, and the rumors are true, but Quelandra only consented after I had promised her marriage and an alliance. She did it for the sake of her kingdom. The Lorraine Empire honored their treaty with me, and they were easily the strongest nation after my own at the time. They were all too happy to use the might of the Dawn Empire to settle their disputes with Leon Ta, but the Lorians were growing too powerful, and I had been betrayed too many times by the other nations to let it happen again. Thus, after I subdued Delavi and Frey, I chose to engage the Lorians on my own terms, and turned on them during a large battle in the Great Rift, an act now called the Great Betrayal. Due to my betrayal of the Lorien Empire, both Xantium and Therese declared war on me. I had crippled the main Lorien fleet, but needed to call back my armies to protect the Hamaran border from my new enemies, which gave Lorraine time to recover. The threat of the Dawn Empire was so great that Leon Ta, instead of striking at Lorraine while they were weak, which was my hope, put aside their centuries-long dispute and made peace, turning their attention toward me, with Therese and Xantium at their sides. Leon Ta and the Lorians working together, I could barely believe it. As Banadar, the Endron Kingdom, the Orden Empire, and the divided city-states of McQuay saw they needed to choose a side by this time, as it was inevitable they would be dragged into the war eventually. Endra, Orden, and half of McQuay sided with my enemies, who called themselves the Allied Empires, as Banadar and the other half of McQuay sided with me. Thus started the First World War of Telos. The disorganized city-states of McKay didn't bring me much value. They simply fought the other McKayans, as they have been doing for centuries. As Banadar, on the other hand, brought a mighty army. For my part, I had combined the strength of the old kingdoms of Sunson, Lumus, and Daymark, as well as the other nations, the larger nations of Gentry, Daemon, Delavi, Maine, and Frey. The Dawn Empire had grown mighty indeed, but to wage war on 6 fronts against Xantium, Therese, Leon Ta, Tulzin, Orden, and Lorraine, I needed all the resources my people could produce. I believed that it was for them and for their safety, not realizing that I was constantly sending their sons to die in my battles, squeezing them for every drop of productivity and coin I could get. The fighting went on for many years, though I made sure to take Therese as fast as possible, attacking them from Esbanadar, which provided the perfect staging platform.